In the farthest reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy, nestled among a cluster of shimmering violet stars and swirling nebulae, floated the opulent world of Zintra. A planet where gravity danced gently, colors sang in harmonies only the soul could hear, and time moved with the grace of falling petals. The royal palace of Zintra rose like a dream carved from moonstone and liquid silver, its towers spiraling into the sky like tendrils of smoke caught mid-twirl. Gardens bloomed with flowers that pulsed softly with bioluminescent light, changing hues with the emotions of those who passed by. At the heart of this celestial marvel lived Princess Lyriel, daughter of the high sovereigns of Zintra, whose skin glowed a delicate emerald green, smooth as polished jade, and whose hair flowed like strands of fresh-fallen snow, long and luminous, catching starlight even indoors. She was beloved across the system not just for her beauty, but for her kindness, her laughter like wind chimes on a quiet morning, and her voice capable of calming storms. Yet behind those silvery eyes that shimmered like twin moons trapped in glass, was a truth known to all. Lyriel had never seen a single color, a single face, a single sunrise. Born without sight, she navigated her world through touch, sound, and an extraordinary sense of intuition that bordered on the mystical. Despite her condition, Lyriel refused to be caged by pity or overprotection. She wandered the palace halls barefoot, knowing every turn, every statue, every ripple in the marble floor beneath her soles. She could identify courtiers by the rhythm of their footsteps, detect lies by the subtle tremble in a voice, and knew when someone smiled simply by the warmth they radiated. Still, there were moments, quiet ones, hidden from public view, when she pressed her palms against the cold glass of her balcony window and wished, deeply and silently, to know what the stars looked like up close, to see the faces of her parents when they spoke of love, to witness the golden sunrises that poets on Zintra wrote sonnets about. But such dreams were considered impossible. On Zintra, no technology had ever restored sight to the blind. Their science could bend space, grow forests in minutes, and heal broken bones in seconds, but vision, once lost, was thought to be beyond reach. Meanwhile, light years away on Earth, in a dusty garage tucked between a noodle shop and a laundromat in the bustling city of Neo-Bangkok, lived a man named Ren Jax. He wasn't famous, rich, or particularly handsome, at least not in the way holoscreens defined it. His hair was perpetually messy, his clothes stained with grease, and his hands bore the marks of countless burns and cuts. But Ren had something rare, a mind that saw solutions where others saw dead ends. A self-taught mechanic with a knack for fixing things others deemed unfixable. He spent his days tinkering with ancient alien tech salvaged from crashed probes and forgotten interstellar junk. Earth had long been a dumping ground for obsolete galactic machinery, and Ren made a modest living repairing and reselling them. He didn't care much for fame or fortune. What drove him was curiosity, the joy of cracking a puzzle, of making broken things whole again. One fateful day, a mysterious shipment arrived at his garage, an unmarked crate humming with low-frequency energy. Inside was a sleek, silver device shaped like a crescent moon, covered in glowing glyphs that shifted when touched. It looked nothing like anything Ren had seen before. Intricate, elegant, clearly advanced beyond human engineering. A note taped to the side read, "Do not activate. Bioresonant frequency mismatch. Return to Zintran Embassy." Ren frowned. He'd heard of Zintra, the reclusive, artistic alien civilization that rarely interacted with humans. But why would they send something here? And what did bioresonant frequency mean? His fingers itched. He wasn't supposed to touch it. But since when did Ren Jax follow rules? That night, unable to resist, he powered it on. The device flared with soft blue light, emitting a melodic hum. Panels slid open, revealing a network of crystalline circuits pulsing like living veins. Ren leaned closer, adjusting a dial, recalibrating the energy flow. Just a little tweak, he thought. Suddenly, the air crackled. A vortex of light erupted in the center of his garage, spinning wildly, pulling tools, papers, and even a startled pigeon into its core. Before Ren could react, a beam of light shot out, latched onto him, and yanked him forward like a fish on a line. He screamed, dropped his wrench, and vanished into the rift with a sound like shattering glass. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on a floor so smooth it felt like frozen silk. The air smelled faintly of rain and jasmine. Above him stretched a domed ceiling painted with constellations that moved, shifting slowly as if breathing. He sat up, dizzy, and found himself in a grand hall lined with statues of tall, graceful beings with green skin and flowing white hair. Chandeliers made of levitating crystals floated overhead, casting gentle rainbows across the walls. And standing a few feet away, one hand still outstretched toward a now-shattered version of the very device he'd activated, was a woman, tall, radiant, her green skin glowing under the ambient light, her white hair cascading down her back like a waterfall of starlight. Her eyes, pale and unfocused, turned toward him. "You," she said, her voice both stern and musical. "You broke the harmonic resonator." Ren scrambled to his feet. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to fix it." Lyriel tilted her head, listening. "Your voice, rough, nervous. Human, yes. Yeah. Renjax. From Earth. I think I accidentally teleported." A small smile tugged at her lips. Accidentally? That device was calibrated for Zintran biology. Only a being of extreme mechanical audacity or stupidity would try to reprogram it without authorization. Ren rubbed the back of his neck. "Guilty on both counts." Lyriel stepped forward, her bare feet silent on the floor. She reached out and instinctively, Ren held out his hand. She touched his wrist, then his arm, feeling the texture of his shirt, the shape of his fingers. "Human mechanics are known for their reckless ingenuity," she murmured. "But also their honesty. You're not lying. You truly didn't know." Before Ren could respond, heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. Two towering guards in iridescent armor appeared, their faces hidden behind masks shaped like raven skulls. They seized Ren's arms without warning. "Princess," one growled. "This intruder must be taken to the Council of Elders. Unauthorized activation of royal tech is a crime punishable by exile or worse." Lyriel raised a hand. "Wait." She turned her blank gaze toward Ren. "He doesn't belong here, but he also didn't come with malice. Let me handle this." The guards hesitated. "Princess, your father will not approve." "My father isn't here," she said firmly. "And until he returns from the lunar summit, I speak with the authority of the crown. Release him." Reluctantly, the guards let go. Ren exhaled sharply, heart pounding. Lyriel gestured. "Come. You'll stay in the guest wing, under supervision, and you will explain, in full, how a human mechanic ended up breaking a royal harmonic resonator in a back-alley garage on Earth." Ren followed, stunned. "You're letting me live?" She glanced over her shoulder, a mischievous glint in her sightless eyes. "For now. But damage this palace, and I won't stop the guards next time." Life in the Zintran Palace was unlike anything Ren had ever imagined. Rooms reshaped themselves based on mood. Staircases folded like origami. Food was served by floating trays that responded to voice commands and occasionally developed sass. The first few days were overwhelming. He got locked in a bathroom that decided it wanted to be a garden pond. He accidentally summoned a swarm of singing butterflies by sneezing near a music panel. And once, he tried to use what he thought was a towel, only to realize it was a sentient fabric meant for royal morning rituals. It wept for 3 hours. But amid the chaos, he began to notice Lyriel. Not just her beauty, which was undeniable, but her spirit. She moved through the palace like a poem in motion, always aware, always present. She played a stringed instrument called a zyra, its notes echoing through the halls like whispers from another dimension. She fed the sky eels that swam above the palace gardens, calling each by name. And every evening, she stood on the highest balcony, face turned toward the horizon, as if listening to the sunset. Ren started spending more time with her. At first, it was out of guilt, then curiosity, then something deeper. He told her about Earth, about traffic jams, spicy noodles, and how humans cried during sad movies. She laughed, a sound like bells tumbling down a hill. In return, she described Zintra not through sight but through sensation. "The wind here tastes like silver," she said once, "and happiness smells like crushed mint leaves after rain." One night, as they sat beneath the glowvines in the inner courtyard, Ren asked the question that had been burning inside him. "Does it ever bother you, not being able to see?" Lyriel was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled sadly. "I don't miss what I've never had, but sometimes, I wonder what my mother looks like when she smiles, or if the sky really is gold at dawn. My people believe sight is overrated. They say true vision comes from within. But," she paused, "I would give anything to see just one sunrise. Just once." Ren's chest tightened. He looked around at the dazzling palace, the advanced technology, the floating cities in the distance. And yet, no one had given her this simple thing. He clenched his fists. What if I could help? She tilted her head. No one can restore sight on Zintra. Our biology rejects artificial implants. Even our best healers have failed. But maybe I can make something different, Ren said, his mind racing. Not an implant. Not surgery. Something external. Like glasses. Lyriel laughed softly. Glasses? You think 2 pieces of shaped crystal will do what centuries of Zintran science could not? Maybe not, Ren admitted. But on Earth, we used them to fix vision all the time. Maybe with some adjustments, new materials, energy filters, biosensors, I could build a pair that works with your nervous system. Something that translates light into signals your brain can understand. She was silent. Then, quietly, you'd really try that? For me. For anyone, Ren said. But yeah, especially for you. Something shifted in the air between them. Not words, not touch, but understanding. A connection deeper than language. The next morning, Ren requested access to the royal archives and the palace workshop. The elders scoffed. The guards sneered. But Lyriel, standing tall in her ceremonial robes, silenced them all with a single command. Let him try. The workshop was a cavernous chamber filled with hovering holographic schematics, anti-gravity tool racks, and vats of liquid metal that changed color based on temperature. Ren dove in like a man possessed. He studied Zintran biology reports, analyzed neural pathways, tested dozens of lens materials. He worked through the night, surviving on stim-T and protein cubes. He burned his fingers, short-circuited 3 prototypes, and once accidentally turned a wall into a temporary portal to a swamp planet, which, surprisingly, had excellent frogs. Weeks passed. Rumors spread. The princess was spending too much time with the human. He was dangerous, unstable, a commoner with delusions of grandeur. The royal family grew uneasy. Lyriel's older brother, Prince Valen, a proud warrior with a voice like thunder and a glare that could freeze fire, confronted her one evening. You trust this a mechanic? He demanded. He broke sacred tech, invaded our home, and now he claims he can do what our greatest minds cannot? It's absurd. And your attachment to him is inappropriate. Lyriel stood firm. He sees the world differently, Valen, not just with his eyes, with his heart. And if he fails, no harm is done. But if he succeeds, he won't, Valen snapped. And if he tries to win favor through false promises, I'll have him banished before he finishes his next screwdriver stroke. But Ren didn't stop. One sleepless night, while reviewing old Earth optometry charts, he had a breakthrough. What if the lenses didn't just focus light, but converted it? Using a blend of quantum reactive crystals and neural interface gel, he could create a device that captured visual data and translated it into tactile pulses along the temples. Signals Lyriel's brain might interpret as sight. It was a long shot, a crazy, impossible idea. But wasn't love made of crazy ideas? He built the prototype in secret, using parts scavenged from broken drones, palace sensors, and even a dismantled chandelier. When it was done, it looked nothing like ordinary glasses. Sleek, silver-framed, with tiny glowing nodes along the arms and a soft, pulsing core between the lenses. He called it the Lumina Band. The day he presented it to Lyriel, the entire palace seemed to hold its breath. Courtiers gathered in the grand atrium. Elders watched from their elevated balconies. Prince Valen stood with arms crossed, expression dark. Even the sky eels circled above, as if sensing history unfolding. Lyriel sat on a velvet bench, calm, serene. Ren knelt before her, holding the Lumina Band with trembling hands. This might not work, he said softly. It's never been tested. It might tingle. It might buzz. It might do nothing at all. She smiled. Then I'll have gained nothing. But if it works... He nodded. Gently, he placed the glasses on her face. They fit snugly, the nodes aligning with pressure points on her temples. For a long moment, nothing happened. The courtiers whispered. Valen smirked. Then, faintly, a glow emerged from the core. Soft, blue, pulsing. Lyriel gasped. Her hands flew to the frames. Her breath hitched. I feel something. Like ripples. Warm ripples on my skin. Ren leaned forward. What do you see? She closed her eyes, then opened them wide. Tears welled instantly. It's bright, she whispered. So bright. Shapes, colors. I don't understand them, but they're there. She turned her head slowly. There's a circle of light above me. Is that the ceiling lamp? Yes, Ren said, grinning. Yes, that's it. And lines. curves, shadows. She looked toward the balcony where the elders stood. There are figures, tall, glowing slightly. Are those people? They are, Ren said, voice thick. You're seeing them. A sob escaped her. She reached out blindly, and Ren took her hand. I can't make sense of it all. It's overwhelming, but I can see. She turned to him, tears streaming down her green cheeks. Ren, what do you look like? He swallowed. I'm kind of a mess. Messy brown hair, scratches on my face. Not exactly royal material. She laughed through her tears. Then you must be perfect. The atrium erupted. Some cheered. Others stared in disbelief. Prince Valen remained still, but his expression had shifted. From scorn to something like awe. But the victory was short-lived. That night, alarms blared through the palace. Red lights flashed. The ground trembled. An emergency broadcast crackled through the halls. Intruder alert. Dimensional breach detected. Hostile vessel approaching from the Veil Nebula. Ren ran to the observation deck. Through the massive windows he saw it. A jagged obsidian warship, bristling with weapons, tearing through the atmosphere like a knife through silk. Its emblem, a serpent coiled around a dying star. The Krythar, ruthless conquerors, enslavers of worlds, enemies of Zintra for generations. They had come for the harmonic resonator, the very device Ren had broken. It was not just a teleporter. It was a key, one that could unlock the heart of Zintra, an ancient power source buried beneath the palace, capable of bending reality itself. And though the original was shattered, the Krythar believed Ren, the human who had reactivated it, might know how to rebuild it. Within minutes, the palace was under siege. Energy blasts rocked the towers. Gravity fields flickered. Guards clashed with black-armored invaders in the courtyards. Lyriel was rushed to the safety chamber, but she refused to go far. If they take the heart, she told Ren, gripping his arm, they'll enslave not just Zintra, but every world connected to it. Billions will suffer. Ren looked at her, really looked. The Lumina band still glowed faintly on her face. She could see now, even if imperfectly, and she was choosing to stand with him. I have an idea, he said, but I need to get to the core chamber, and I need you with me. The elders will never allow it, she said. Then we won't ask. Together, they slipped through hidden passages known only to royalty. Twisting tunnels lined with ancestral murals and whispering statues. Along the way, Ren explained his plan. The harmonic resonator couldn't be rebuilt, but its energy signature could be mimicked. Using the palace's mainframe and the remains of the original device, he could create a fake signal, lure the Krythar into the core chamber, and trap them in a collapsing dimensional loop. But it would require precise timing, and someone to activate the final sequence from inside the chamber, a place so unstable few survived entering it. I'll do it, Lyriel said immediately. No, Ren said. It's too dangerous. I'm the Princess of Zintra, she replied, eyes blazing with newfound clarity. And for the first time, I can see what I'm fighting for. My people, my home, and you. They reached the core chamber, a vast, circular room suspended over a chasm of swirling cosmic energy. At its center stood the heart of Zintra, a pulsating orb of light, humming with the song of creation. Ren connected his portable console to the control panel, fingers flying over holographic keys. Alarms blared. The Krythar were closing in. Ready? He asked. Lyriel nodded. Do it. He initiated the simulation. The heart flared. A false signal blasted outward, mimicking the resonator's frequency. Moments later, the Krythar commander, a hulking figure with 6 crimson eyes and a voice like grinding stone, marched into the chamber, flanked by soldiers. Fools, he roared. You cannot hide the key from us. Ren triggered the trap. The floor split open. Gravity inverted. The Krythar soldiers screamed as they were pulled into the void below, vanishing into folds of distorted space. The commander lunged for Lyriel, but she sidestepped, guided not just by instinct, but by sight. She slammed a control rod into the panel, sealing the chamber. The building shook. Cracks spread across the walls. We have to go, Ren shouted. But the exit was blocked. The only way out was through a narrow maintenance shaft, too small for two. You go, Lyriel said. No, I'm not leaving you. She touched his face, the Lumina band flickering. You gave me sight, Ren. Now let me give you something better. Hope. Before he could stop her, she shoved him into the shaft. The hatch sealed behind him just as the chamber collapsed inward with a thunderous roar. Ren tumbled out onto the surface, coughing, bleeding, screaming her name into the smoke-filled sky. The warship exploded above, torn apart by the implosion. Silence fell. Then movement. Rubble shifted. A hand emerged, green, trembling. Ren scrambled forward, digging with bare hands. And there she was, alive, bruised, but smiling. "You didn't leave," she whispered. "I came back," he said, pulling her into his arms. Always. As the first true sunrise of her life painted the sky in molten gold and rose, Lyriel looked at Ren. Really looked and whispered, "Now I know what beautiful means." And high above, the stars blinked like approving eyes, watching love rewrite destiny. The days that followed the Krythar's defeat were unlike any in Zintran history. The sky, once cautious with its colors, erupted into dazzling displays of light, golden ribbons at dawn, violet auroras at dusk, as if the planet itself was celebrating. News of the princess's survival, and the mysterious human mechanic who had not only saved her life but given her the gift of sight, spread like wildfire across the 7 moons and countless floating isles of the Empire. Holographic murals appeared overnight depicting Ren and Lyriel standing side by side, one hand in hand, the other raised toward the sun. Children whispered his name like a legend. Renjax, the man who taught a blind princess to see. But while the people rejoiced, the royal family remained divided. High Sovereign Thaler, Lyriel's father, a towering figure with skin like polished jade and eyes that could freeze time, had returned from the lunar summit to find his palace scarred, his daughter nearly lost, and a human mechanic sitting beside her at every council meeting. At first, he was furious. How dare this grease-stained outsider claim such influence? How could his daughter, heir to the eternal light of Zintra, possibly consider a bond with someone so ordinary? Yet, when he saw Lyriel walk into the throne room unaided, her white hair shimmering under the morning glow, her new lumina band resting gently on her face, and when she turned to him, tears in her silver eyes, and said, "Father, I can see you," something inside him cracked. She reached for him not by touch, but by sight. "Your crown has 3 stars carved into the front. Your left eyebrow has a small scar. Mother said you got it fighting off a shadow beast when you were young. And your smile, it's just like mine." Thaler froze. No healer, no machine, no ancient ritual had ever given his daughter this. And yet, here it was real, undeniable, miraculous. He looked at Ren, who stood quietly at the edge of the dais, hands clasped, saying nothing. The mechanic wasn't dressed in finery. He wore a patched tunic and still had a smudge of engine oil on his cheek. But his eyes, steady, humble, full of quiet courage, held no fear. That night, the High Sovereign summoned Ren to the Garden of Echoes, a sacred place where royalty came to reflect. Fireflies made of pure light drifted between the trees, carrying whispers of the past. "You gave her more than sight," Thaler said, his voice low. "You gave her hope, and you risked everything to protect her. Even when escape was possible, you came back." Ren swallowed. "I love her," he said simply. "Not because she's a princess, but because she sees the world in ways no one else can, even before she could see it all. She hears music in silence, feels joy in stillness, and she never once treated me like an outsider." Thaler studied him. "On Zintra, tradition binds us. Marriages are alliances. Love is secondary." "Then maybe it's time to change tradition," Ren said gently. "Because if love isn't the foundation, what are you really building?" The Sovereign was silent for a long time. Then, with a slow nod, he placed a hand on Ren's shoulder. "You are not Zintran. You do not speak our language fluently. You once turned a ceremonial fountain into a temporary portal to a frog dimension." A rare smile touched his lips. "But you have a Zintran heart. Brave, selfless, full of light. If my daughter chooses you, then so do I." Word of the Sovereign's blessing spread through the palace like a warm wind. Even Prince Valen, who had once threatened to banish Ren, approached him in the training yard. "I underestimated you," Valen admitted, arms crossed. "I thought you were a fool playing with forces beyond you. But you faced the Krythar. You rebuilt what our scientists called impossible. And you love my sister, not for her title, but for her soul." He extended a hand. "Welcome to the family, brother." Tears pricked Ren's eyes as he shook it. The wedding was held beneath the twin moons of Zintra, in the celestial meadow where flowers bloomed in perfect harmony with the heartbeat of the planet. The entire system seemed to pause in reverence. Delegations from 100 worlds attended. Humans from Earth, crystal-skinned diplomats from Lyra, even a grumbling but respectful Krythar elder, who had been captured and reformed after the battle. The air hummed with music played on instruments that sang with their own voices. Lyriel walked down the petal-strewn path barefoot, as was tradition, her green skin glowing under the moonlight, her white hair woven with threads of starlight fiber that pulsed with her emotions. Now glowing soft gold, the color of joy. On her face rested the Lumina Band, now refined into a work of art, embedded with tiny Zintron crystals that enhanced both vision and beauty. Ren waited at the arch of living vines, dressed in a robe of deep blue woven with circuits that lit up with every beat of his heart. When he saw her, he forgot how to breathe, as the High Priestess of Light began the binding ceremony, where two souls pledge not just love, but unity of purpose. Lyriel reached out and gently removed the Lumina Band. A gasp rose from the crowd. "I don't need this right now," she said softly, smiling at Ren, "because I don't need to see you to know you're here. But I'm glad I can." And then, for the first time in history, a Zintron princess recited the vows not from memory, but from sight, reading the ancient script etched into the altar, her voice clear and strong. "I choose you, Ren Jax, not despite your differences, but because of them. You are chaos and kindness, fire and patience. You are the unexpected note in the symphony, the spark in the dark. With you, I do not just see the world, I understand it." Ren, trembling, responded in kind. "I choose you, Lyriel of Zintra, not because you're royalty, but because you're real. You taught me that strength isn't about power, it's about heart. That love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, again and again. I may not be from this world, but with you, I've never felt more at home." When they kissed, the twin moons aligned, bathing the meadow in silver light. The flowers burst into song. The sky rained gentle sparks that dissolved into laughter upon touching the ground. In the years that followed, Ren didn't become a king, he became something far greater. The visionary. He opened the interstellar workshop within the palace grounds, where humans, Zintrons, and beings from across the galaxy collaborated on inventions that bridged cultures. He designed adaptive vision systems for the blind on a dozen worlds. He even fixed the sentient morning towel, which now greeted him with cheerful waves. Lyriel, no longer defined by her blindness or her title, became the voice of unity, traveling the stars to promote peace and understanding. Together, they proved that love wasn't bound by species, biology, or even physics. It was the most powerful force in the universe. And every evening, without fail, they returned to the highest balcony of the palace, where Ren would sit beside Lyriel as she watched the sunset, her hand in his, her head on his shoulder. "Still as beautiful as the first?" he'd ask. She'd smile, her eyes reflecting the molten sky. "Every time, it feels like the first." And somewhere, in the quiet between stars, the universe smiled too, knowing that sometimes, all it takes to change everything is a broken machine, a wrong turn, and a love that refused to see limits. Years flowed like starlight through the halls of the Zintron Palace, soft and golden, weaving a legacy neither Ren nor Lyriel could have imagined in their wildest dreams. What began as an accidental teleportation, a broken device, and a blind princess's quiet longing had blossomed into a love so deep it reshaped the very soul of a civilization. And now, their story was no longer just theirs. It echoed through laughter, tiny footsteps, and the joyful chaos only a full heart and a full home could hold. They had children, not one or two, but a whole constellation of them. Their first, a daughter named Nimra, was born under a triple eclipse, her skin a gentle seafoam green, her hair a cascade of soft silver white like moonlit mist. She inherited Lyriel's intuition and Ren's endless curiosity, often dismantling toys not to break them, but to see how they sang when rebuilt with singing crystals. Then came Kalen, a boy with wild brown curls that defied gravity and eyes that sparkled with mischief. One human, one enhanced by a tiny version of the Lumina tech, a gift from his father. He could see both the visible world and the hidden energy fields around living things, making him the best hide-and-seek champion in the galaxy. After them arrived Tavi and Scylla, twin girls born during a meteor shower. So synchronized in thought, they often finished each other's sentences without speaking. One loved mechanics, the other poetry, but together, they once rewrote the palace's security system using rhyming code, which, surprisingly, worked perfectly. Then came Orin, a quiet boy with luminous jade skin, and a voice so pure he could calm storms with a lullaby. And finally, the youngest, Mira, a bubbly child with freckles like stardust across her cheeks, and a laugh so infectious it made the palace flowers bloom faster. Their home, a wing of the palace transformed into a lively, slightly chaotic sanctuary, was never silent. Gears clattered in the workshop corner where Ren taught the older ones to build anti-gravity kites. Singing crystals chimed from half-finished inventions. Books floated mid-air, reading themselves aloud in 3 languages at once. And always, there were hugs, small arms wrapping around legs, climbing onto laps, pulling parents into games of Find the Hidden Tool, or Who Can Make the Guard Robots Dance? Lyriel, once the serene princess who moved through silence, now thrived in the beautiful noise of family. She could identify each child by the rhythm of their steps, the warmth of their touch, the unique frequency of their laughter. But more than that, she could see them. Every dimple, every scowl when dinner wasn't their favorite, every proud grin after fixing a broken sky glider. She kept a holographic album updated daily, filled with moments Ren captured. Nimra concentrating fiercely over a circuit board, Kalen riding a tamed wind serpent through the garden, the twins curled up asleep with books floating above them. One evening, as the twin moons rose and the younger children were finally tucked into their glowing cradles, which gently rocked with the pulse of the planet, Lyriel and Ren sat on their favorite balcony, the same one where she had once stood, yearning for a sunrise she couldn't see. Now, she leaned against him, watching their oldest, Nimra, teach Orin how to use a modified luminoscope to map the stars. She's going to be an inventor, just like her father, Lyriel said softly. Ren smiled. Or better, she doesn't just fix things. She dreams them first. Lyriel turned to him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Do you ever think about that day? When you broke the harmonic resonator in your garage? All the time, he admitted. I thought I was ruined, that my life was over. Instead, he looked around, at the palace alive with light, at the children's laughter drifting through open windows, at the woman he loved more with each passing year. Instead, I got everything. She took his hand, the one scarred from years of tools and trials, and pressed it to her heart. You gave me sight, but these children, they taught me what it means to truly see. The joy in a mess, the beauty in noise, the miracle in ordinary moments. Inside, a crash, a giggle, then Kalen's voice. It wasn't my fault the robot started breakdancing. Ren groaned playfully. I swear, one of these days, I'm inventing a no more dancing robot switch, and I'll immediately reprogram it to disco mode, Lyriel said, laughing. He kissed her forehead, then her lips, slow and sweet, as the universe spun quietly around them. Word of the royal family spread far beyond Zintra. On Earth, children read stories of the blind princess and the mechanic who gave her sight. Scientists studied the Lumina technology, adapting it to help millions. Peace flourished between worlds, not through treaties alone, but through connection, through the knowledge that love, in all its forms, could bridge any divide. And in the end, it wasn't grand battles or ancient powers that defined their legacy.